Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. We got some absolutely massive gaming news. 3 new Star Wars games announced by EA today. We're going to take the time, break all of that down, and I want to give you guys my thoughts and maybe a hint at what to expect. Before we continue though, I do also have a second gaming channel, X2. We've also covered the news today. I'll link to that video in the upper right hand corner, but if you enjoy Star Wars and gaming generally, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. It's really awesome. Alright, so let's cut to it. And as I mentioned, this tweet from EA today said there are 3 new Star Wars games in development, one of which, not surprising at all. Jedi Fallen Order is getting a sequel. That game did phenomenally well. I would be far more shocked if that wasn't happening, and so many leaks have basically indicated that it's actually pretty close to completion. So we're not going to talk about that a whole lot in today's video. Everyone knows what Jedi Fallen Order is. Everyone rightfully has played it. Let's talk about the other 2 games, and if we go to this news release posted by EA, we'll see that they're also working on a first-person shooter in the Star Wars universe headed up by Respawn, and also a new strategy game. So what are we talking about here? Is this Star Wars Battlefront 3? Is this Empire at War 2? Galactic Battlegrounds 2? Well, let's talk about it. I want to start with the strategy game because this is the one that was generating the most discussions, at least in the circles that I operate in. First of all, I don't think this is Empire at War. I don't think this is anything like Empire at War, and we can actually get a lot more information than is found in the press release by doing just a little bit of digging. So although Respawn's name is attached to the strategy game, they'll also be working with the new studio Bit Reactor. Bit Reactor is headed up by a man named Greg Fourge, who has worked on strategy games in the past, including most notably the XCOM series. GameIndustry.biz actually put out a really interesting article a few days ago with Greg, and although at that time he wasn't referring to his upcoming work as a Star Wars game specifically, knowing what we do now, we can learn a lot from this article. First of all, in the interview, he talks about how, as a whole, he feels like the strategy genre has fallen back a bit in terms of production, presentation, and storytelling, and that's something that I actually completely agree with. Halo Wars 2 did some interesting things with its cutscenes, but just generally, I haven't felt really excited over a strategy game in a very long time. And even in that game, outside of the cutscenes, I felt like there was a lot of flatness, and people act like that's inherent to the genre, and I personally just don't agree with that. In the article, Greg talks about how they want to blur the line between what a strategy game is and what an action game is, how it's still key to lead with story and immersion, and he actually hypes up the future game quite a bit. He says that the studio's goal is to be going head-to-head with Halo or whoever else when they release the game, as they did with XCOM back in 2012. So a genre-evolving strategy game is very exciting based on Greg's experience. I would guess that this could be something like a Gears Tactics or of course an XCOM, which could be very well suited for the Star Wars universe. And again, keep in mind, this is only what EA is working on. Once the Star Wars exclusivity ends, we could see different types of strategy games emerge. But in this case, I wouldn't go in expecting Empire at War 2. That may happen at some point. Petroglyph is interested and apparently has asked EA many times, but either way, I'll be very curious to see what we get. But let's talk now about the new shooter. First of all, no, this isn't Star Wars Battlefront 3, and to be honest, I don't think we'll see a new entry in the Battlefront series for a long time, which makes me sad because they are good games. That being said, there is a possibility that this is a spin-off game, as rumors did indicate earlier last year that the Battlefront crew had got together to record something. That being said, I think an FPS game is still very exciting for a couple of reasons. So what can we expect from, as of yet, unnamed FPS game? Well, it's my opinion that one of the 2 previously unknown games announced today will not be a fully AAA game, i.e. it will be priced less than $60 and it will be a smaller game in general. This is what EA did with Star Wars Squadrons, one of my favorite games of all time, and apparently they were fairly happy with the reception and the profit made off that game. Making a AAA game nowadays is an absolutely humongous undertaking, and I think where Star Wars fans are so eager to buy any sort of content, it makes sense to have smaller, more focused experiences which will still sell well. This game is being led up by Peter Hirschman. He's been involved with Star Wars games for a very long time and also worked on first-person shooters including Medal of Honor, Titanfall, and more. So what is EA going for with this? It's really hard to say. It could be a Republic Commando game. It could be a completely new experience. It could be a Battlefront spin-off. I don't even really want to guess on the subject matter, but what I will guess is that it will have a competitive multiplayer aspect. Pretty much every first-person shooter that releases nowadays, even single-player focused games, have at the very least a tacked-on multiplayer mode. It's even possible that it's multiplayer only, but I think this is definitely an area that EA should identify as really lacking for Star Wars. Someone pointed out on Twitter Twitter today that Star Wars Squadrons was really the first Star Wars game to have a competitive multiplayer system with ranks and whatever else. That's pretty huge. The competitive video game scene only continues to increase, so I really think it makes sense for EA to try to hone in on that with the Star Wars brand, which people will pretty much buy up for any reason. But let's also just talk now timelines and what else is on the horizon. Daily Star Wars Games actually put out a great post on this summing everything up, so I'll link to that. But this year we've got, of course, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga coming out, which looks amazing. We've got Star Wars Hunters, which looks less amazing. Then we've got the KOTOR remake, Star Wars Eclipse, the Ubisoft open world game we heard about, and also a Zynga game for what that's worth. So compared with what the past years have looked like, the future is definitely bright. That being said, aside from Jedi Fallen Order, I would not expect the games announced today to come out anytime soon. Jason Schreier summed this up really well. He says EA's Star Wars exclusivity license ends next year, but that doesn't mean it'll stop making Star Wars games. The Jedi Fallen Order sequel has been in production for a while and should be out this year or next. The shooter and strategy games sound like they're many years away. This type of announcement is often for hiring purposes, particularly essential now during the Great Resignation. And Jason's right, there is really a shortage of devs for the game industry right now, and he also points out that Respawn is also working on Apex Legends and other projects, so they're very busy. So again, temper your expectations, not only about this being maybe Star Wars Battlefront 3 and Empire at War 2, because it's probably not, but these games could still be quite a while off. I do also just want to reiterate that one last thing that Jason said. EA's Star Wars exclusivity license ends next year. However, that's just their exclusivity ending. That does not mean they won't be able to work on more games moving forward. When it comes to other publishers and developers, those working with the new Lucasfilm games, it's a bit unclear to me how the development process works there, whether companies are allowed to start working on games before the exclusivity process ends or not. That would be something confidential within the agreement itself. Either way, as much as I did really love Star Wars Squadrons and Jedi Fallen Order, I'm glad the exclusivity moves away from EA, but that we'll still keep getting their games. And I'm pretty excited about these two that were announced today, and of course the Fallen Order sequel. Very, very curious about an upcoming strategy game, but also hoping that both offer potential for competitive play. I would love nothing else than to throw some big fancy tournaments for new Star Wars games, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway guys, that's all for me for today. Again, please check out X2 if you haven't. Charlie did a really good job covering this announcement with some different angles today, but until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.